This video showcases my attempt at a Pokémon Soulsilver hardcore Nuzlocke using only flying-type Pokémon. Soulsilver has a large pool of flying-type Pokémon, yet there is not a wide variety within said pool. Lots of the encounters are normal flying types and bug flying types. Encounters are on screen now. I will not be using legendaries and I'm banning Gyarados as well. Mantine is a Heart Gold version exclusive, so I won't be able to use it either. Some of these encounters appear in the same location, so I won't get to use both of them. I play with standard hardcore Nuzlocke rules, those being no items in battle except for held items, playing on set mode, no overlevelling, only catching the first unique eligible encounter in each new area, and every fainted Pokémon is considered dead. Just for full transparency, I play with rare candies to reduce time wasted having to grind for levels, but lose out on EVs in the trade-off. With that out of the way, let's get into the run. I tell Professor Oak my name is Avian, which he apparently doesn't like because he immediately tries to kill me by crushing me with a hydraulic press. I luckily survive and go to complain to his former assistant Professor Elm, who doesn't care and just gives me a Pokémon to make me shut up. I choose Cyndaquil, so my rival will eventually get a Feraligatr that knows Ice Fang, thereby being the most difficult one to face. Since Elm won't listen, I try my luck elsewhere and head to Mr. Pokemon's house. Imagine my horror as I walk in and see the culprit himself standing right beside him. Before I have a chance to tell Mr. Pokemon all about it, he walks up to me and hands me a device, then makes me register him in my Pokegear. Great. As if I hadn't been through enough yet, I'm now an accomplice to what I assume is a terrorist who handed me a detonator and will blackmail me to do his bidding. As soon as I leave, I get a phone call from Professor Elm. He sounds very distraught and is asking for me to help. Oh, so now you want me to help you? Even though you willfully ignored my testimony about your former employer's attempted murder. As I head back to give Elm a piece of my mind, I'm stopped by this red-haired individual who also seems to have it out for me. What the hell is wrong with this game? Cyndaquil easily disposes of him and I continue my trek back to New Bark Town. Upon entering Elm's lab, I notice the bastard has called the cops on me. I luckily frame everything on the red-haired individual and just tell the officer he's called Dida, an obvious fake name, but I had to come up with something to make it sound convincing, didn't I? Upon my departure, Lyra grants me some Pokeballs, meaning the run has officially started. At least someone in this town has common decency. I use them to catch a Pidgey whom I name Right. He's my first eligible encounter. On the route just north of this one, I also catch a Spearow called Earheart. Right has a lonely nature, plus attack minus defense, and has the ability Tangled Feet. Earheart has a jolly nature, plus speed and minus special attack, and the ability Keen Eye. I would have preferred Keen Eye on Right as well, but I'll take what I got, since these are very good natures for them. Up ahead in Dark Cave, I catch a Zubat called Coleman. She has a neutral docile nature and the ability Inner Focus. I make my way up Sprout Tower and witness the Elder lecturing Dida, who doesn't seem too interested in his words. I battle the Elder myself, but as you might imagine, it goes swimmingly with a team of flying types. Earheart one-shots every of his Pokémon, even getting 2 critical hits and a Fury attack to take down the Hoothoot. Having defeated the Elder, I can now finally challenge Faulkner, a fellow appreciator of birds. I lead off with Earheart, who takes down his Pidgey with 2 Fury attack hits after a Leer. Faulkner next sends in his lifetime natural, level 13 Pidgeotto. Earheart lowers his defense with another Leer and then tries to take it down with a bunch of Fury attacks, which proves futile thanks to Faulkner spamming Roost. I contemplated switching because Earheart is at risk to a crit, but I remain unpunished. Getting brought down to just 4 HP, it's time to switch. I switch into Right, who tanks a Gust and afterwards takes down the Pidgeotto with 2 quick attacks thanks to the lowered defenses, getting brought to 14 HP in the process, winning me the battle and the Zephyr badge. I exit the gym and get notified by Elm his assistant has brought me the lunch Elm had earlier stolen from me. I accept it and am greeted by this unusual woman that says my egg is special, being handed down 3 times. I'm not going to get salmonella, am I? Making my way through Union Cave, I encounter and catch a hop-up in Route 33. I name her Quimby. Kurt and I go to save the Slowpoke from Team Rocket in Slowpoke Well. I fight Executive Proton and defeat both his Zubat and Coughing using only Fury attacks from Earhart. Time to challenge Bugsy in the Azalea Gym. As you might expect, this isn't all that difficult. The level cap is level 17 for Bugsy's Scyther, at which point Earhart learns Aerial Ace and Coleman learns Wing Attack. Thanks to a critical hit with Earhart's Aerial Ace, I sweep the entire gym unscathed, granting me the Hive badge. Time for the second rival fight. Earhart takes care of Dida's Ghastly and Croconor using a couple of Aerial Aces. Once his Zubat enters the field, I pivot to right, who ultimately can't take it down, so Coleman does the job. In the Ilex forest, my egg hatches in the middle of catching the Farfetch'd. I name the hatched Togepi Sullen. Now having access to the Age-M for cut, I open my bag to teach it to Quilava, but as soon as I exit I'm faced with this weird visual bug that replaces the cut tree with a fat man. I take a page out of Professor Oak's book and kill him in cold blood. Using the move Headbutt on trees in the Ilex forest, I encounter a Hoot Hoot. I call her Baton. In the Goldenrod Poke Center, I take a look at Quimby's, Sullen's and Baton's natures and abilities, and I'm satisfied with them. I challenge Goldenrod City's gym leader, the normal-type specialist Whitney, and her infamous Miltank. This could very well be a run killer. I start the battle with Wright, who has already evolved into a Pidgeotto, and lower her Clefairy's accuracy using Sand Attack. I opt for a couple of gusts and quick attacks to take the Clefairy down, but am forced to switch on the would-be last turn thanks to a lucky metronome that pulled Taunt. I pivot to Coleman to shake off the taunt, then back into Wright to kill the obese fairy. In comes the infamous Miltank, which immediately goes for an attract on Wright. Whitney goes for a stomp, bringing Wright into the yellow, as his Wiki Berry activates to restore its HP. I was planning to make use of Wright's Tangled Feet ability by giving it a berry that restores HP, but confuses if the Pokémon hates its flavor, which I got from the shard trading NPC in Violet City, to get the increased evasion against the Miltank. But I got it wrong and ended up giving it the wrong berry. Yikes. The correct berry would have been an Ayapapa berry, which I also had one of, but I simply gave it the wrong berry. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. I get in as many sand attacks as I can, as Wright pays the ultimate price, marking the first death of the run. I next send in Baton to go for a Reflect and a Growl, hoping to get in a Hypnosis as well, but a Stomp flinches Baton, preventing her from putting the fat cow to sleep. The next turn Baton goes down to a Rollout. I send in Coleman to confuse the Miltank. I have to land 55% accurate Supersonic twice, since the Miltank is holding a Lumberry. Coleman pulls through however, and can deal some additional damage with Wing Attack. I switch her out when she's brought down to 7 HP. I switch to Quimby, now a Skiploom, and I use Poison Powder for guaranteed damage every turn. Quimby's tackle deals too little damage, so I start poison stalling with Synthesis. I throw in a couple Tail Whips to increase the damage dealt by tackle. The next Stomp flinches and Quimby is stuck at 14 HP. I risk it and click Synthesis, hoping she survives the incoming attack or it misses, as she survives on one singular hit point and doesn't flinch, allowing her to heal up with Synthesis. Repeated usage of Synthesis heals her back to nearly full HP, as Whitney uses a Super Potion. At this point it devolves into a slugfest of Stomp, Flinches and Tail Whips, as I use my remaining Synthesis PP to keep myself alive. I can then finally use Tackle to bring it low enough for the poison damage to finish the cow off, winning me the battle and the plain badge. I deposit my fallen team members in the box and call it quits for the day. The next day I acquire the Squirt Bottle and backtrack to Route 31 to catch a Ledibur in the morning. I name her Johnston. In the route above Goldenrod I encounter a Yanmar and catch it, naming it Curtis. I could already see during the battle Curtis doesn't have the ability Speed Boost, which is quite disappointing. Since I was playing on a Thursday I could enter the bug catching contest in National Park, finishing my insectoid catching spree by finding myself a Scyther. I must admit I encountered a Caterpie as my first encounter, but seeing as Butterfree is also an encounter for the contest, I decided whichever of the two, Butterfree or Scyther, I came across first would be my encounter. It ended up being a Scyther. I catch her and in doing so end up winning the bug catching contest altogether. I call her Reich. After talking to the other contestants, this bug catcher totally calls me out. Uncool, dude. I check out the natures and abilities in the PC and they honestly couldn't be worse. A minus speed nature Scyther with Swarm instead of Technician really stings. Along the way to Ecruteak City, Earhart evolves into a Fearow, and Sullen also likes me enough to become a Togetic, gaining the flying type, meaning I can now use it in battle. Sullen's evolution was crucial, because next up is the rival fight with Dida in the Burnt Tower. Dida now has a Magnemite on his team and his Crocodile Nose Ice Fang. Sullen is easily able to kill the Ghastly with an extrasensory, after which the Magnemite enters the field. I taught Sullen the TM for Flamethrower, which I got from the Goldenrod Game Corner, and gave him the Charcoal Held item which I got from the Woodcutters in Azalea. It is enough to defeat the Magnemite. Third is Croconor, whose Ice Fang is devastating for my team, so I hit it with a charm to lower its attack. After lowering its attack enough, I use Yawn to put it to sleep, getting hit by a soft Ice Fang. Wanting to deal some damage the turn it falls asleep, I click Extrasensory, but Sullen gets frozen by the next Ice Fang, forcing me to switch. Earhart uses Leer twice and then proceeds to kill the Croconor with 2 aerial aces. Last up is Zubat, which outspeeds and confuses, but ultimately falls before Earhart's aerial aces as well. Morty's returned to the gym now, so it's time to challenge him. For some runs Morty can also be a run killer, but not this one. His entire team consists of the Ghastly evolution line, which easily falls to Sullen's Extrasensory. His Haunter puts me to sleep and uses Dream Eater, but I recover enough with a held Citrus Berry to not be in danger. After it falls, Gengar comes out, which has no way to hit Sullen other than Sucker Punch, so I just put it to sleep and use Charm, after which it falls to 2 Extrasensories. The same is true for his final Haunter. And with that, the Fog Badge is mine. Making my way to Olivine City, I encounter a Farfetch'd which I catch and call Cochrane. I also meet Bauber and exchange numbers with him. In preparation for the fight with Chuck, Coleman evolves into Golbat and Crobat right after, and Quimby also evolves into Jumpluff. The fight itself was a total breeze. Earhart easily swept with aerial aces, as you might have come to expect by now. The Storm Badge is now mine. As I exit the gym, Chuck's wife gives me the Age M for Fly, a great move for this challenge. At the Lake of Rage I meet up with this suspicious guy who tells me to rendezvous with him at Mahogany. I go to the meetup spot, only to witness him hyper-beaming a man into oblivion, and commit breaking and entering right after. I'm starting to think this fella's an associate of Professor Oak. I follow after him and battle Team Rocket Executive Petrol, but he's a walk in the park. I'll let the footage speak for itself. Red Hair number 1 and I then team up in a double battle against Red Hair number 2 and a random grunt. Once again, the fight is easy. I choose to take on Price first, because his level cap is 1 level lower than Jasmine's. Price leads with his Steel, and I send in Reich, who can KO with Wing Attack and U-turn, allowing me to bring in Sullen unscathed. Against Price's Dugong, I go for Hard Stone boosted Ancient Powers, hoping to get an Omni boost with Sullen's Serene Grace ability. I actually get it, meaning Sullen is able to take down the Dugong with the next attack. Price's final Pokemon is his Pilo's Wine. I go for Flamethrower here, but it just barely misses out on the KO. I was expecting Flamethrower to succeed, so my heart sank as I watched it survive and go for Blizzard, but thankfully it missed, allowing me to kill it the second turn for the Glacier Badge. Before I take on Jasmine, Bearbo calls to let me know the Safari Zone has opened. The fight with Jasmine is a joke. Sullen burns all her Pokemon to a crisp with 1 Flamethrower apiece, critting the Steelix, which otherwise would have taken 2 hits. With 7 gym badges in hand I fly to Goldenrod to save the radio tower. Petrol can often be quite scary with a team full of self-destructing Pokemon, but Sullen sweeps with Extrasensory, I've got nothing to worry about. The 1 smokescreen Sullen was hit with comes back to bite me on the last coughing, though, making me miss twice before finally taking it down. Dida challenges me in the midst of my heroic endeavors instead of helping me, despite calling me a coward not even 5 minutes ago, so I knock him down a peg. His lead Golbat gets hit by a hard Extrasensory, leaving him in the yellow. I switch it up and go for Ancient Power, hoping to get a boost, as he tried predicting another Extrasensory, switching into Sneasel. I easily take it down with another. His Magnemite once again gets roasted by a flamethrower and dies. I try to put the Feraligatr to sleep as I get hit by an Ice Fang which freezes me, but I luckily immediately thaw out to hit a yawn. I switch to Quimby as it falls asleep and take it down with some Mega Drains. He once again sends out his Golbat, so I switch to Coleman, but she doesn't achieve anything thanks to bad RNG, so Earhart has to finish the job with an Aerial Ace. His final Pokémon gets hit with another Aerial Ace, then takes itself out with Curse. Proton is next in line, but he goes down just as easily as he did in Slowpoke Well. The second to last fight is a rematch with Ariana, who tastes the wrath of Coleman. The final executive is Archer, but much like his colleagues he's a farce. Ancient powers to kill the Houndour, extra sensory on the Coughing, another ancient power on the Houndoom, switch to Coleman and that's all she wrote. In the Ice Path I encounter a Delibird, whom I catch and name LaRoche. The Dragon Gym is the only one left. I gave LaRoche the Nevermeltus I found in Ice Path and taught it Ice Beam which I got from the game corner. The Gyarados falls to 2 Ice Beams with the second one critting, and both Dragonairs fall to a single Ice Beam. Since Kingdra outspeeds LaRoche I let her go down to a Hydro Pump. She's served her purpose. Quimby Leech Seeds the Kingdra and gets her accuracy lowered by Smokescreen in return. After missing a Poison Powder the second one hits, and I spam Mega Drain to whittle down the Kingdra. During this exchange I get brought down to a mere 2 HP and switch to Coleman as Claire uses a Hyper Potion. I go for Confuse Ray for additional damage and then spam Poison Fangs. When the Kingdra is brought low, Claire once again heals, this time with a full restore. I don't know why she didn't use it earlier, but now the poison damage is gone. After some more Poison Fangs, Coleman finally manages to take down the Marine Dragon and survives a soft Hyper Beam. I lay LaRoche to rest in the box and go to the Dragon's Den to get the Rising Badge. In Route 40 I catch a Skarmory whom I call Lindbergh. I didn't actually notice I spelled his name wrong until editing this part. After Elm gives me the Master Ball I revisit Union Cave to access the grassy part of the ruins of Alf where I encounter a Natu. I postponed this encounter because they learn Teleport, and I didn't want to risk losing an encounter. I name her Lavrontef. Back in Ecruteak City the Kimono girls want to fight. As you can see I've brought Johnson out for this fight. The reason will become clear in a second. I go for a Silver Wind on the Umbreon and get hit by a Confuse Ray, then switch to Raichu who KOs with an X-Scissor. I didn't switch immediately to avoid Raichu being the one confused. I switched to Lindbergh against the Espeon, tanking a Swift and some Psychics to take it down with Steel Wings. Lindbergh would have gone down to the crit on the last turn were it not for the held Citrus Berry. Next up is Flareon, the entire reason I brought Johnson out of the box. Flareon knows Fire Blast, a move which no one on my team can deal with. Johnson sets up a light screen and misses a Supersonic, after which it goes down. A necessary sacrifice that allows me to bring in Coleman who brings the Flareon to about half. Getting too low on HP, I'm forced to switch Coleman out and swap in Earhart on a quick attack, finally killing the Fire Dog with an Aerial Ace. I organized my party so that Quimby would be first in line against the Jolteon, the only thing that takes regular damage against electric moves in my team. Quimby immediately gets paralyzed by a Thunderbolt and misses her Leech Seed. The second one lands though, and now I start spamming Mega Drains. Thanks to the increased evasion from Double Team and Paralysis this is quite the arduous task. Quimby pulls through however, and KOs with 36 HP remaining. Now because luck would have it that Quimby got paralyzed the last Kimono girl's Vaporeon outspeeds, and hits a devastating 4x effective Aurora Beam to take Quimby down. Rest well little Quimby. Had Quimby not been paralyzed she would have been able to hit a Mega Drain, regaining just enough HP to survive a non-crit Aurora Beam and kill the Vaporeon with another Mega Drain. Alas things didn't turn out this way, and Raichu has to finish the job with 2x Scissors. Out of spite the Kimono girls kidnap me and take me to the Whirl Islands, forcing me to watch their silly dance. The dance is so infuriating even Lugia shows up to stop them. The Kimono girls make me go and fight it, but I just run away, leaving him at Lugia's mercy. That's what you get for killing Quimby. The only thing standing in between me and the Elite Four now is Victory Road and the rival fight at the end. He leads off with his Sneasel, and I start with Raichu. A single X-Scissor is enough. Next is Golbat, whom I hit with a wing attack and proceed to get confused, so I swap to Sullen, who gets brought down to 37 HP before landing an ancient power to kill. Magneton once again does not survive a flamethrower and out comes for Alligator. I switch to Lindbergh and trade flies for waterfalls. Lindbergh brings the crocodile down to the red, but is too low to finish the job, so Coleman comes in with a fly. His Kadabra just barely survives a fly, thanks to setting up Reflect and nails Coleman with a Psybeam that would have killed if it crit. Luckily Coleman can outspeed the Kadabra for the kill. Last up is Haunter, so I swap to Earheart on a Shadow Ball. The Reflect allows the Haunter to survive an aerial ace, but it wears off the next turn so another aerial ace can take it down. With my team leveled up to level 47 to match Karen's Houndoom and their movesets completed as well as getting all the necessary held items, I challenge the Elite Four. The first member of the Elite Four is the Psychic-type user Will. I did not even strategize for this battle, because I knew a +2x Scissor would be enough to sweep his entire team. Second up is Koga and his poison types. I lead with Sullen, who manages to torch both his Ariados and Fortress with a flamethrower. He then sends in Mook as I click Yawn, hoping to put it to sleep, but get hit by Gunk Shot which hits hard, but I luckily survive on only 1 HP. I quickly swap into Lindbergh for the poison immunity as the enemy Mook falls asleep. Here I start whittling it down with Steel Wings, but it wakes up and starts boosting its evasion. This results in a lengthy back and forth, because Koga heals. Luckily Koga's Mook does not have any move to hit Lindbergh with, so I am able to take it down eventually. He sends in his Crobat as I hit a critical hit Steel Wing to take it down to half before its berry activates. Crobat then hits a critical hit of his own, which thanks to the Mook's screeches lowering my defenses, takes me down to just 32 HP. I do not want to lose Lindbergh yet, so I swap to my own Crobat and land a Confuse Ray. The enemy Crobat then goes down to a fly after hitting itself twice. His final Pokémon is his Venomoth, which also falls to a single fly. The third member of the Elite Four is Bruno, the fighting-type user. I lead with Earheart and he leads with Hitmontop. I go for a Drill Peck, expecting to take it out in one shot, but it survives on a tiny sliver. I expect Bruno to heal, so I click Drill Peck again, but he swaps to his Onix oddly enough. I swap to Lindbergh to tank a neutral Rock Slide and set up one layer of spikes to ensure the Hitmontop dies upon re-entry. I expect the Onix to go down to 2 Steel Wings, but it also hangs on with just a sliver, and Bruno heals. A couple of Steel Wings later it finally goes down, but not before having brought Lindbergh to just 32 HP. Next up is his Hitmonlee, and I know I can't let Lindbergh stay in, so I swap to Coleman, who takes it down with a single fly. The following Hitmonchan then follows in his brother's footsteps and also goes down to a single fly. Bruno's final Pokémon is his Machamp. I go for a Confuse Ray, because this thing has no guard, so his moves always hit. I do not want to go for Fly because I would be trapped in a 2-turn move, and unless I get a crit this thing won't go down to a single fly. The Machamp hits a Rock Slide bringing me down to just 9 HP, so I have to switch out. Earheart comes in and can lay the 4-armed fighter to rest with a Drill Peck after it hit itself once. The final member of the Elite Four is the Dark-type user, Karen. You've already seen how the fight with Will went, so I'm guessing you'll know how this fight will play out. I lead with Raichu against her Umbreon and set up a substitute, because I don't want her to get hit with a Thunder Wave or Confuse Ray. The Umbreon just sets up double teams though, so I'm free to get to +4 and then sweep the entire team with X Scissors and 1 Wing Attack. The only trainer left is the champion, Lance. I lead with Lavrontef to confuse the enemy Gyarados and deal as much damage as possible with Shadow Ball. Lavrontef surpasses my expectations though, as she survives a couple of Ice Fangs on only 4 HP, managing to take the Gyarados down the next turn. I was sadly always planning to let her go down though, so I click Confuse Ray hoping to confuse the sent out Aerodactyl, but it outspeeds and takes her down with a crunch. I bring in Lindbergh, who goes for Steel Wing twice, managing to take the Rocky Dragon down after getting through paralysis. Lance then sends in his Charizard, and my plan is to hit it with Fly twice to deal substantial damage and take it out with Sullen using Ancient Power. A held Citrus Berry ensures Lindbergh has enough HP to survive 2 Fire Fangs, but he's unable to land the Fly thanks to paralysis and the following Fire Fang crits, taking Lindbergh down without dealing any damage to the Charizard. Not good, since now Ancient Power won't take it down in one shot. I send in Sullen anyway since I don't have any other option, and get flinched and taken down to just 29 HP before the held Citrus Berry procs, landing the first Ancient Power. I would have likely gone down to a second Air Slash since the Charizard outspeeds, but in a stroke of luck Sullen gets the Omni boost and can survive another attack on just 20 HP to hit another ancient power, taking down the fire lizard. In comes the first of his 3 Dragonites, and I switch out to Coleman because I don't want to let Sullen go down yet. Due to playing on speed up, I actually misclick and select Poison Fang instead of Confuse Ray here, meaning Coleman immediately goes down, but at least the Dragonite got badly poisoned. I follow up with Raichu and set up a substitute to dodge the Thunder Wave. I know Lance's 2 level 49 Dragonites will only ever go for low accuracy moves like Blizzard, Thunder and Dragon Rush, so I gave Raichu held Bright Powder to make them even less likely to hit. She is able to set up 2 Swords Dances, giving her enough firepower to take out all 3 Dragonites with 2 wing attacks behind the safety of her substitute. And with that I've done it. I have beaten Indigo Plateau using only flying types. My suspicions are confirmed as Oak enters the room, proving that Lance was his underling, but that doesn't matter anymore since I've already become unbeatable to them. Lance then takes me to the back room as I enter the Hall of Fame. The run is not over yet, as Balbo calls me to let me know I can catch 2 more encounters in the Safari Zone before I tackle Kanto. The Safari Zone is my only exception to the first rule, because I allow myself in Finte encounters until I either catch the Pokémon or I run out of Safari Balls, since Safari Zone Pokémon are notorious for running away. The first encounter is a Murkrow, whom I name Farman. The second is a Doduo. I called him Fish and he was actually holding a sharp beak. The last encounter I take for this run is an Aerodactyl which I revive in Pewter City from the old amber I got from rock smashing in the ruins of Alph. I call her Oriole. With all my encounters behind me, I start the Kanto Gym Challenge. Since all of these fights except for Blue are a total sweep, I won't even bother commentating and instead give you some music for your enjoyment while you watch the sweeps. With 7 Kanto badges in hand, Blue is the only one left. He's the only gym fight worth commenting on. I lead off with Curtis for his debut match, as he one-shots the Executor with a Bug Buzz. Next is his Arcanine, which outspeeds with a Flare Blitz, but I gave Curtis an Occa Berry to reduce Fire-type damage. He lives and can hit an Ancient Power for about half. The plan was actually to let Curtis go down after taking down the Arcanine, but not only did he get an Omni boost from the Ancient Power, he also dodged Stone Edge from the Rhydon, allowing him to take it down as well. He even manages to take down the Gyarados. He's surpassed my expectations for sure. Sadly, all good things must come to an end, and Curtis bites the dust to an Air Slash form Blue's Pidgeot. Sullen comes in to finish the job with a couple more Ancient Powers, and takes the last Machamp out with some extra sensories. Sadly, the last bit of footage of this fight corrupted, but with that I have all Kanto badges and can fight Red. The last hurdle of the challenge, Trainer Red. I get a photo of the 5 Pokémon that will be fighting Red, since I need to bring an HM Morn for rock climb. Having made my way to the top of Mount Silver, we faced off. His Pikachu gets outspared and immediately falls to an Earthquake from Oriole. Oriole then manages to flinch the Lapras with a Rock Slide, allowing it to KO with a second one. Out comes the Blastoise, and here I need to let Oriole go down. I click Thunder Fang in hopes of getting a paralysis, which I actually end up getting. I switch in Raichu to set up a substitute and hopefully set up sword attacks when the Blastoise is fully paralyzed, which takes 2 turns, and KO the Tortoise. Next up is Red's Charizard, which just barely survives a wing attack and takes Raichu down with a Dragon Pulse. It also barely lives the Hail Chip, so Red heals up as Sullen tries to kill it with Ancient Power, to no avail. The Charizard doesn't go down until dealing massive damage with a Flare Blitz, effectively rendering Sullen useless for the remainder of the battle. Sullen goes for some damage on the Snorlax, before being struck down by Blizzard. I send in Earheart, which brings the Snorlax into the yellow after Hail Chip, and lower its defenses trying to avoid a heal. Earheart 2 goes down to a Blizzard. I only have 1 Pokémon left. Farman KOs the Snorlax with a Sucker Punch, and out comes Red's last Pokémon, his Venusaur. The damn Grass Frog puts Farman to sleep, and I think I just lost the run, as it takes Farman into the yellow with a Sludge Bomb. Farman comes in clutch though and wakes up after only 1 turn of sleep, and can KO the Grass Frog with a sharp beak boosted fly to win the battle. This concludes the run. I successfully beat the Johto Gym Challenge, the Indigo Plateau, the Kanto Gym Challenge and the battle with Red using only flying types. This victory certainly didn't come free, as evidenced by the large number of deaths. I could have played around some of them better, I realize that now in hindsight, but I'm still happy with the way things turned out. There rests me nothing but to thank you for watching the video if you made it this far. I hope you enjoyed it. More hardcore Nuzlocks will be coming soon, but I don't intend on establishing and keeping an upload schedule. I do this as a hobby. With that said, I hope to see you in my future videos.